I've always found with Plaid Cymru conference, more so than Labour and the Conservative conferences, it's more member looking often than outward looking. And I think we talked earlier in comparisons, this is going to be very different. Plaid Cymru is going to want to put on a really positive show outwardly, but what actually happens internally, I think, is still going to be very important.
And this is the tricky thing about conference season, isn't it, Joe? It's almost easier to do a conference going into it while in the doldrums a little bit than going into it on a high, because everyone is looking out more for where they might chip away at you. I mean, however much the leadership of Plaid Cymru has managed to sort of keep that issue of nationalism and independence at bay, and other issues that sort of Plaid Cymru have historically struggled to connect with some voters on.
Yeah, much, much harder. You've got nothing at stake if you're kind of languishing at the bottom of the polls. But the leadership will be very conscious of that. And members too. You've got to, as someone who's been working in and around politics since the very beginning of devolution, there was talk back in at the very first assembly, as was election, about Plaid having the breakthrough. Labour were in the doldrums. There was all sorts of issues about who was going to lead Labour down here, and it ended up being Alan Michael. There were allegations that he'd been parachuted in by Tony Blair at the time to have sort of, someone that he could, quote, rely on. Labour weren't doing very well. Plaid thought, this is our big chance. We're going to make massive inroads in the valleys, etc. And ultimately, it didn't happen. And I think, having been bitten by that experience, there will be more discipline in the months leading up to this.